you all were to go ahead and do the sessions that were available on the PD site. And what I wanted to tell you all, I forgot to tell you this the other day, if you need credit for T-tests or for whatever, I know this doesn't necessarily give you a certificate unless you complete all of the courses. But, something I've done in the past for T-tests is I've just gone ahead and printed out, whatever I've done. So I might print out that home page, or I've written down on a separate document the title of some of the PD that I've done. I know sometimes it's hard to get all that PD in and you want to show it, especially for T-tests. So, document it on a separate document if you need to, if it doesn't necessarily give it to you. So that way you can show, look, I've been doing, PD all along. I've done the same thing for like seesaw classes that I've done, I've done some on remote guided reading that were, just kind of webinars, go ahead and document those because those are all PD that you can use for your T-tests or even for your certificates. Okay, I think we've got Christina in now. So today we're going to be looking in depth at the components of the assessment. Yesterday you all saw the overviews, which was basically kind of giving you an example of how the assessment is run, and then a little bit of in-depth information about the scoring of it. So today we're going to go further in depth with that. We're going to try and get into some practice as well. And really today and tomorrow is kind of, timed as far as how you all are. If y'all need like more assistance, more guidance, we can spend a little bit more time with that today and tomorrow. If not, I do have stuff to go over tomorrow. So not necessarily we can cancel tomorrow. I do have stuff for us, but as far as how much practice and guidance you all need, let's take the time to do that. So that way you all feel confident in practicing on your own over the weekend and getting prepared for the assessment. So the first thing with the assessment is you need to consider how are you going to be assessing. When I first put this presentation together, I was considering that we were going to be remote. Okay, so take that into consideration as well. If I am testing remote, what materials am I going to need? Also, if you're testing in person, which may happen in the next couple of weeks, what materials are you going to need to test those in-person class students? And in fact, you all are going to have to prepare for both. Okay. Majority of you are going to have some students that are in person and some students that are remote. So you're going to have to make sure you've got those materials and you're testing appropriately for the student. Now, if you're testing remote, I do suggest that you have your teacher iPad and you also have your laptop. On your teacher iPad, you can go to the website in which you'll be scoring, okay, like we do with DRA, all right, or like we did with TPRI. We're going to be scoring the student on our iPad on the website. The laptop you will use to connect with the student remotely and to share your screen to display the student materials. There are going to be some student materials that the student's going to need to look at. So you're going to need to display those on the screen, or if the student is in person, you're going to need to print those out. You also need to communicate with parents, whether it be remote or in person. There are parent letters that are available for this assessment. They are going to be added to our Schoology. So let me show you. I haven't added them to our Schoology yet. This is kind of my working document one, because I know if I add stuff too early for you all start freaking out and printing and this and that. So I want you to kind of take it one thing at a time. So there are parent letters and information. There are parent letters in English and in Spanish for the assessment. And also, I thought these were pretty neat. They're basically the letter, but it's in a video format. So you can also send your parents a video that basically reads the letter to them about what to expect with the assessment. or you can even show it to your parents, during one of your Zoom sessions. But make sure you notify parents about the assessment, whether it be in person or remote. Then we need to make sure that we connect with the students. We need to connect with them virtually, using our devices, but we also need to make a connection with the student. We need to make sure that the student feels comfortable with what we are doing, how we are assessing. We need to ensure too that the parents are comfortable and the parents are keeping their distance as well. And if we're doing in person, I think this is going to be a little bit more, nervous for the kids, because the kids are barely going to be going back to school. And for little ones, that's a lot. So you might have some that even though they've seen you on Zoom, they might be a little nervous, or they might be super excited and not quite paying attention. So make sure you take a little bit of time, connect with that student. I know we're always in a rush, we're always pressed for time, but try and connect with that student, make them feel comfortable with what is going on. Okay, also the student materials. Student materials are also going to be available in our Schoology. Now, like I said the other day, I did receive an email at one point that said that we're going to be receiving kits. That was news to me, and I think that was news to the trainer we had too. But if we receive kits, that is great. If not, I will be posting the testing documents for you all to go ahead and print out and look at, okay? You can also go ahead and use these for testing and for your practice purposes. So your MOI documents are here for both English and also, if we get any students in the future, for the Spanish as well. And it's taken a while to load. There it goes. It's still taking a while to load, but those documents are there. And we'll be going further into those documents today during our training. Make sure that you are comfortable displaying the documents on the screen for the student. Make sure too that if you are testing in person with the student, that you have whatever documents you need printed out, ready to go. You may want to have them like in a sheet protector if you feel more comfortable, and then clean it down in between students because they might be pointing and tracking. That's going to be up to you, but have those materials ready to go. You may need, depending on the student and depending on their devices, you may need a little assistance from the caregiver to make sure that that student can view the materials, their device is working, but make sure that parents know. And I think it's good that it's going to be kind of an oral one-on-one test, so we'll be able to really hear that parent if they're whispering. Make sure that those parents are kind of keeping their distance when it comes to the answers. You're going to always begin with a practice assessment. There's a few practice questions, and then you're going to complete the assessment and you're going to score and sync the results. For the assessments, you're going to see as we go through each practice one today that a screen is going to pop up. Most of them are timed for 1 minute. And after 1 minute, this screen is going to pop up saying, was this measure assessed remotely? So if the student is at a different location, you're assessing via Zoom, then you're going to click yes, it was done remotely. If the student is right there with you, then you'll go ahead and click no, okay, because it was done in person. But you'll see that as we go through the practice ones today. Now there is one assessment, and you hopefully got to look at this yesterday, that is not going to be like an in-person one-on-one assessment, and this is going to be the spelling. So on this one, the students are going to need to go to a website, log in, access their accounts, and then they will be given the spelling test. And either today or tomorrow, just depending on how things go today, I'll go over exactly how do we access the things that we need to get the students onto the spelling test. So now let's take a closer look at each of the components of the assessment. Now, I think Mr. Kramer may have looked at my PowerPoint yesterday because I got a text from him. And yes, there is an additional measure to our assessment. I just found out in an email, there's several on there that are optional. Okay, so a lot of the optional ones I left off because we need to concentrate on what it is we need to concentrate on. We need to stay focused. So they did say that we are doing the oral language. Now, don't worry, okay? We're going to look at it today. All right, so we will go ahead and take care of that. But the first one we're going to look at is going to be the letter naming fluency. This is done for kinder through first grade. And this is mostly going to be students naming the letters of the most frequent letters in the alphabet. So each form is going to begin with a sampling of 20 most frequently seen letters, so that fluency is not affected by letters that the students may not have been taught yet. All of the forms are going to feature a font with distinctive letters for A, T, and capital L. So hopefully they will not get confused with that capital I and capital L and lowercase l. The first grade test includes all 52 uppercase and lowercase letters with 3 notable exceptions. W is a letter that has 3 syllables. So that takes longer for students to say. So with that, W has been omitted from this test because it is a time test for 1 minute. That letter's been taken out. Also, lowercase l has been excluded because it's easily confused with both the uppercase I and the number 1. So that's been taken out as well. Now, this slide here, I want to point out, I have this for each one of the components of the test. This is actually part of the TOT training, okay? So this is actually a slide for me, but as I was going through it, I felt it would be helpful to keep these in for you all. And you may want to print out this slide as well. This is slide 18, because it tells you the specific parts of the assessment, okay? There are timing features, okay? Do I know how to start the test? Do I know what the warning screen after the 1 minute looks like? Markings. Do I know how to mark something incorrect? Do I know how to mark a self-correct? And do I know how to mark if a student has skipped a row? And then also placing the bracket for the final letter a student says. Okay, so this one's a good check off. If you're going through it this weekend, do I know how to do each one of these features? And this is slide 18 for the letter naming fluency. Okay, and I'll point out this slide as each time we get to it for each component. But I left it in because, like I said, I felt it was really good for you to go through and myself to go through. Do I know how to do each one of these things so I feel comfortable in giving the test? So now let's go ahead and take a look at a remote assessment or remote version of the LNF assessment. Maybe. There it goes.
Hey there, Annabelle. How are you today? Did you have a great summer?
Yeah.
Well, it's so nice to see you. We're going to get together today and do a reading check. So before we do that, I need to make sure that you can see the materials that you need. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen with you. And tell me, can you see the letters on the page?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Here are some letters. Tell me the names of as many letters as you can. When I say begin, start here and go across the page. Point to each letter and tell me the name of that letter. If you come to a letter you don't know, I'll tell it to you. Put your finger on the first letter. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Begin.
O R U V C M O L H C C A E U E F A B I D I U
N,
F S G P G D S X F P
all right, you can stop there. Thank you so much, Annabelle. It was nice to talk to you. Bye-bye.
All right, so you could see on one side of the screen was the teacher's screen. She was doing her markings on her iPad. And then the other side of the screen was, it was kind of split between what she was sharing with the student to view. And then you could see the student was looking at their screen and was reading across with all of the letters. Okay, we also have the phonemic segmentation. This one is also for K and 1. And this one, they are counting the number of phonemes in a word. Now, this does increase in difficulty. So with this one, you'll be able to, when you look at the data, you'll be able to see, okay, so this student can discriminate the phonemes of words that have 3 phoneme sounds. However, they have issues when it comes to discriminating the phonemes in words that have 4 or 5 sounds. So as it increases in difficulty, you'll be able to have that data to pinpoint where the student is still having issues listening to sounds. Now this is slide 22. This is that slide again that I told you may want to go ahead and print out or go back to, so that way you can see if you know how to do each one of these features in the assessment. Do you know how to start the test? Do you know about the timer? Do you know about the warning screen when the test ends? Do you know how to mark things incorrect? Do you know how to mark a self-correct? And this one's a little tricky and we'll look at it. Blended letter sounds. How do I note? Let's say that we have the word safe here, which would be s, a, f. However, what if the student goes say, f? They put the S and the A together. How would I mark that blended sound? And then of course, removing markings. And then at the top of the screen, there's going to be a scrolling word board. Now, before I go on to the next video, I do want to bring to your attention that I will be posting these videos as well as additional videos for you all. I have them for English and I have them for Spanish. I decided to organize them by the assessment component. So you'll see for PSF, there's going to be the administration demonstration. This is what you saw on the PD site, the scoring rules, what you saw on the PD site. That way, I don't need to go back to the PD site and figure out where that was. You can come to our Schoology, it will be there, okay? Also, this video that you're going to watch right now and the one for letter naming fluency, the remote administration. And I have also, and I'm going to talk more about these as we move along and we get more into the guided practice, I've put together some demonstration videos of my own as well, highlighting each one of those parts of the assessment that we should know how to do so we can become comfortable with it. So here we have the phonemic segmentation. This is going to be a remote administration again.
Let's start with PSF. PSF is captured orally, so there are no student materials needed. Teachers can simply go to their class list, choose a student, select PSF, and begin assessing the student. You will say a target word, and the student will say the sounds in that word. Here's an example of PSF being administered. I'm going to say a word. After I say it, you tell me all the sounds in the word. So if I say the word mist, you would say, eh. If I say the word low, you would say, oh. Let's try one. Okay. Tell me the sounds you hear in the word am. Tell me any sounds you hear. Very good. The sounds in the word am are Okay, here is your first word. No.
Oh.
My.
I.
Say. Line.
All right, so once again, you could see the teacher's side of the screen as she was marking along the students' responses and the students' errors, and then the student side of the screen with the student repeating the words. Now with the PSF, the phonemic segmentation, I know you all have done this in Saxon Phonics, and I know we're not really supposed to do this, but I would probably even start with the student, reminding them about how we count sounds in words. If that's a procedure that you've done in the classroom, I may go ahead and refresh the student's memory about that, because that would jog them back to, oh, okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm just breaking apart the word into the phonemes, just like when we count them during Saxon Phonics. Okay, next we have the nonsense word fluency, and this is going to be for grades K through 3. These are using frequent spelling patterns, and they do increase in difficulty as well. So in grade 1, once again, you'll be able to look at the data. Let's say I have a student that can read words with silent E, however, has difficulty with R-controlled vowels. So you'll be able to see that by the letters that they are, by the words they are able to decode. So for example, like you can see again, it has those just CVC words, and then it goes up to those silent E, R controlled, and blends. And yes, for first grade, students are going to be tested on silent E, R controlled, ending blends, beginning blends, and words that have blends in both the beginning and the end, which are all things, once again, we've covered with our Saxon Phonics, okay? So hopefully most of the students won't have a difficulty decoding these words. Now this is slide 28. This is one of those slides again that I told you may want to go back to and print or look at, slide 28. With the NWF, do you know how to start the assessment? Do you understand about the response timer? Do you understand about the warning screen when the assessment ends? Markings, do you know how to mark something incorrect, a self-correct, a blended letter sound? And of course, we're going to be looking at how do I remove something? The scrolling word board at the top of the screen, and the word sets. If a student misses so many words, it's going to go ahead and turn off the assessment. So this might be a screen you may want to go back to just to kind of see, okay, I'm comfortable with each one of these elements. And we'll be going through these elements too when we do the guided practice. So this is another remote assessment for the nonsense word fluency.
Hi, my name is Sarah and I work on the mClass team at Amplify. In this video, I'm going to show you how to assess students remotely using nonsense word fluency. This video will show you how to assess using a modified setup where the teacher connects to a video conference and scores the assessment using a laptop, and the student joins using a tablet such as an iPad. After joining the video conference and taking some time to connect individually with your student, you will display the materials needed for the assessment. First, copy the link to the materials and have them in a separate window or tab from your video conference. You can have this ready prior to joining the meeting with the student. You will have two tabs open, one for the video conference with the student and one for the materials. Second, you will present your screen and share only the window displaying the materials with the student. After sharing the window, you can toggle back and forth between the video conference and the materials screen as needed. Now you are ready to begin assessing nonsense word fluency remotely. Let's see what this looks like.
Hi, Annabelle. It's so nice to see you today.
Hi.
We're going to do a reading check together, okay?
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is I need to make sure that you have the materials. Can you see two words on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Look at this word. It's a make-believe word. Watch me read the word. Hap. I can say the sounds of the letters, or I can read the whole word. Hap. Your turn to read a make-believe word. Read this word the best you can. Make sure you say any sounds you know.
Mom.
That's right. The sounds are oo, or lum. Here are some more make-believe words. Start here and go across the page. When I say begin, read the words the best you can. Point to each letter and tell me the sound or read the whole word. Can you put your finger under the first word? Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Begin.
Tip. Prep. Have. Calm. Tap. Tut. Nub. Step. That. Nan. All. Yan. Knob. Sug. Ut. Tug. Nug. Sim. Tat. Sap. Pig. Mud. Nim. Ned. Rock. Hope. Or hote. Tur. Wag. Kind. Take. Yay. Sep. Mer.
All right, you can stop there. That was excellent. Thank you, Annabelle.
All right, so you were able once again to see the student side of it with the materials being displayed for the student and the teacher side with the teacher going ahead and marking the correct answers or the incorrect answers. Next, we're going to have the word reading fluency. This is going to be for grades kinder through third. This one is also a timed one, so it's going to be 1 minute long, and this is going to be mostly high frequency words. This assessment is testing if the students can read words out of context. So it's just going to be a list of words like we do with our sight word assessments to see if the student can read words out of context. There's going to be regular decodable sight words in there. They have here cat, deep, thinking of Saxon phonics, the word the is a decodable sight word. Or there's going to be irregular sight words, words that do not follow the rules, like said and won. So it's going to be a combination of both. And of course, they're going to increase in difficulty. So that way you can see which type of words students have the most difficulty with. This just shows you again that they increase in difficulty. There's going to be some that are going to be decodable, some that are not. And then here is that screen that I was telling you. This is slide 35 that you may want to go back to. So you can see if you know how to do each one of these elements for the assessment prior to testing students. And for this one, I do not have a video of the remote administration, but I did go ahead and I put the videos from the PD in there. And then, like I told you before, and we're going to get to those in a little bit, I put together some guided practice videos for you as well. So you can take a look at all those. Now, the WRF, the word reading fluency, is a gated assessment. What they mean by that is students are going to be assessed in their word reading and their nonsense word reading first. And if students score poorly on that, then the students will be taken to the letter name and the phonemic awareness. So when you look at your screen, you'll see that letter name and phonemic awareness are going to be kind of grayed out, lighted out, for the MOI. So depending on how students do in this area, these may come alive that you're going to need to test the student. If the student does well in these areas, then these remain optional for you to go back and test the student. And the rest of the slides are just more information about the gating rules. You are welcome to look at that on your own. It's just like I said, you're going to start with the nonsense words and the word reading, and then you will go to the letters if need be. Now here, this is slide 43. I also have it in Schoology as a resource. This is something you may want to print out and have near you. This shows what exactly we are testing with this assessment. So we're going to begin with our nonsense word fluency. Depending on how the student does with the NWF, if the student does poorly, then you may need to go ahead and go back and assess that letter name fluency and that PSF. If the student performs well, and the program will show you, then you're going to continue on with the WRF, ORF, OL, and the spelling. All students are going to be assessed in those areas. It's only the letter naming fluency and the phonemic segmentation that some students may need to be tested in if they are performing low enough. The oral reading fluency. This one is going to be for grades 1st through 6th, and it's going to be a different passage for each benchmark time. Now, with this one, there is no retell. The reason for that is they just want to go ahead and test students' understand or decoding of words within context. It's not testing retell or comprehension. It is only testing reading and decoding ability. And then this is slide 46. This is where it has all of the components of that test that you may want to go ahead and go back to and practice. And then here's a remote example.
Finally, we will take a look at oral reading fluency. Your student will use the share screen feature to display materials on the screen just as they did with nonsense word fluency, and then begin the assessment.
Please read this out loud. If you get stuck, I will tell you a word so you can keep reading. When I say stop, I may ask you to tell me about what you read, so do your best reading. Start here at the top. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, you may begin.
Our pond. I have a pond in my yard, and there are lots of fish in it. There are lights in the pond. They light up in the yard at night. My grandpa helped my dad build this pond many years ago.
Okay, so and the student is only going to be reading for 1 minute. So they're just going to be reading whatever it is that they can read with that test. And then lastly, we have the oral language. This is that new one that got added with it. The oral language is going to be for kinder through second. And this assessment really is just the student repeating or echoing the sentence that the teacher provides.
This video will teach you how to administer the oral language measure for English. Oral language is a measure of the foundational skill of listening comprehension. It can be administered in kindergarten through grade 2. The objective is for the student to accurately repeat sentences in English. The measure will consist of a teacher reading a sentence aloud, the student repeating the sentence she hears, while the teacher marks any miscues the student says. After a teacher has indicated all miscues, the final item may look like this once scored. I will show you how to indicate each of the miscues. There are 3 unique forms for kindergarten. There are 3 unique forms to be used across both grades 1 and 2 for each time of year. Kindergarten has unique cut points for each benchmark. Grade 1 has unique cut points for each benchmark. Grade 2 has the same cut point for all benchmarks. Oral language is administered untimed. These are the screen features you will use to administer the oral language measure. Once the measure has begun, the teacher will read this sentence aloud. The desired behavior is that the student will repeat the sentence accurately. In that case, the teacher will click correct at the bottom and move to the next sentence. If there is no response after 5 seconds, the teacher can select the no response button. If the student repeats the sentence and makes errors, you will record them using the features of the miscue bar. After you mark any miscues and/or self-corrections, you then have the option to use the right-facing arrow to move to the next sentence. You may not skip an item in the measure. Now let's learn about each miscue code. Inserted words. If a student inserts a word, first select the insert code located in the miscue bar. The insert spots then appear between each word as shown. Select the plus sign which matches where the word was inserted. In this case, the child says a word between is and not. You will then record the inserted word using the keyboard that appears. If you are completing the assessment on a computer, you may use your keyboard to type. After you click the submit button or type enter, the inserted word or phrase will appear with a caret in the sentence to indicate the miscue. A child may self-correct by repeating a part of the phrase and removing the inserted word. In this case, you will tap the caret a second time to mark it self-corrected, as well as mark a repetition on the inserted words or phrase. You will see the caret turn green to indicate the self-correction. Substituted words. If a child substitutes words in the sentence instead of repeating verbatim, first, highlight the word or words that were read incorrectly. Then, click the substitute code located in the miscue bar. The keyboard will appear and you will type in the substitution and then click submit. The substitution will appear above the sentence on the screen. To mark a substituted word self-corrected, click the word in the teacher sentence. The word turns green to indicate the self-correction. To remove the mark altogether, as if it were a mistaken tap, click it a third time. Omitted words. If a child omits a word in the sentence, first highlight the single word or multiple words that were omitted. Then select the omit code located in the miscue bar. The word will then appear crossed out. To mark the omitted word self-corrected, as when the child says the word originally left out, click the word again and it turns green. If multiple words are marked omitted, you need to click each word to mark each self-corrected. Repeated words. If a child repeats a word or phrase in the sentence, first highlight the word or words that were repeated. Then select the repeat code located in the miscue bar. To remove the repeat highlight, click on the X at the start of the repetition highlight, as shown here. Prompting. A teacher can repeat the sentence if the initial statement was interrupted, but no other prompting should occur. If the student doesn't respond, simply tap No Response after 5 seconds and move to the next sentence. Oral language provides 1 score, the number of sentences repeated accurately. mClass automatically calculates the score based on how the assessor records student responses.
All right, now with this assessment, once again, I know we're not supposed to, but I would probably still use some of the same language I use in the classroom, like repeat after me, or echo this sentence, or I say, you say. You know, I know a lot of us have our own ways of having the students repeat and echo phrases in the classroom. And I would probably use some of that language while I'm testing the student so the student knows what is expected from them. Now this is slide 50. This shows all the parts of that assessment that we kind of need to know how to do. Do we know how to mark incorrect, self-corrects, inserted words, substitutions, omitted words, repeated words? And then do we know how to move to the next sentence? So this is slide 50. So now we're going to go ahead and we're probably going to get through 1 or 2 components, and then we'll pick it up again tomorrow. But we're going to go ahead and go through some guided practice. So this is the student practice account. Below you will see the website here. I'm going to let y'all know, for some reason, I can't always get this to run on Chrome, but it runs fine on Safari. So if you're having issues with this site loading up on Chrome, try it on Safari, see if it works on there, okay? The username is going to be PDM057. And the password is going to be 1234. So let me go ahead and let me put this information in the chat for you. Remember, I'm having issues. It's been a while since I've had to do Zoom with you all. There we go. So this is going to be the website and the practice information and the practice students that I primarily use. There you go. And you're more than welcome to go ahead and go there. I'm going to go ahead and head on over. You are more than welcome to follow along with me. Once I log into the site, and remember, this is going to be the practice class, I'm going to see a list of students from different grade levels. You're going to want to pick a first grade student. And I usually, and I put this in the chat and it's in the PowerPoint, I've been picking Belin Kalnan. That one usually seems to be, you know, okay, ready to go for MOY. But you can use whichever student, just, you know, see if you can access that MOY assessment, because that's the one we want to practice with. When I click on her test, I see that the L and F, letter names, and phonemic awareness are grayed out. Remember, I'm going to start with that letter sound test, which is the NWF. The NWF is going to be tested for both the letter sounds and decoding. So this score is going to go 2 times. I'm going to click on the assessment. And it says reuse benchmark form. Yes, I am doing a benchmark assessment, MOY. I want to use the benchmark form. Once I am in here, you'll see, just like you saw on the remote testing that we were doing or videos we were watching right now, there's a script, okay? Everything is scripted for you to go ahead and use. Read through these reminders carefully as a teacher. Okay, we want to ensure that amongst all of us testers, we have fidelity with our testing. So there's going to be the 1-minute timer. If a student hesitates for 3 seconds, then I'm going to go ahead and point to the next letter or word and have the student move on. Okay, I can tell the student keep going, but that's about all the prompting I can do. And I'm going to discontinue the assessment if the student does not get any sounds correct in the first 5 words. So that was for me as a teacher to remind me of what are the procedures for this test. Now I have the student directions. You know, just like we saw when we were looking at those remote testing, it is all scripted for you. You will display the material for the student that has the list of words, and you will read the script. Look at this word. It's a make-believe word. Watch me read the word. App, hap. I can say the sounds of the letters, app, or I can read the whole word, hap. Now it's your turn to read a make-believe word. Read this word the best you can, and the student would read the next practice word, and if they read it correctly, you would mark it correct. If it was incorrect, it's incorrect. Okay, it's just yes or no. That's right. The sounds are ul, or lum. With this assessment, note this. With this assessment, the student can either say the letter sounds or they can read the word. If they do both, that's fine too. Might take them a little bit more time, but it's going to count if they can either read each individual letter or if they can read it blended together. Either way is fine. Here are some more make-believe words. Start here and go across the page. When I say begin, read the words the best you can. Point to each letter and tell me the sound or read the whole word. They can do either or both. Put your finger on the first word. So then we would go to the assessment. When we are ready to begin, we're going to go ahead and read the script and click Start Assessment. Now we see at the top, there's a timer that is going off, and we see 3 little dots. These are noting if the student makes that 3-second hesitation. Okay, you can kind of take a quick little glance and see if the student has hesitated for that long to go on to the next word. So our first word is writ. Let's say that the student goes it. I'm going to mark each individual phoneme. It. And you'll see now I have 2 lines because that is what the student has said. Let's go on to the next word. Dut. Let's say the student reads this word in its entirety just fine. Dut. I can either click whole word down here at the bottom and it will select that it was correct, or I can drag and draw it over. Because we were talking, it kind of said we were done. But let me show you what we can do here. What I'm going to do, since I want to kind of keep on going through this just for a few more minutes, I'm going to go invalidate. Remember, this is a practice test. And I'm going to invalidate and exit. And it's going to wipe out what we just did. For some reason, it likes me to log in. There we go. The only thing with doing this is it does take you through all those screens again. So let me just go really quickly so I can get back to the test. Now, let's say with this word, writ, the student sounds out the word, it. Since the student sounded out the word, I'm going to mark each individual phoneme. And then let's say they decide to go, it, writ. So then I'm going to go ahead and drag across ripped. Let's say with this word, instead of reading the t sound, they turn it into a d sound, the letter D. So the student would sound out d, d. The student said a third sound, however, it was incorrect. So I'm going to mark that letter incorrect. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to this one. So remember, if it was done remotely, you're going to go ahead and you're going to mark yes. Now, before I go, I would like to bring to your attention, I know it's kind of grayed out and dark, but kind of at the top of my screen, right below the timer, is a scrolling word bar. And this is going to show you what words are coming up next for the student to read. And I'm going to go ahead and invalidate. If you want, you can go ahead and keep those results, just so in case you want to see. I know this student didn't do very well because I think they only went through 2 words. So since this student did not do very well, you will see that the letter naming fluency and the phonemic awareness is now blue and ready to go. Okay, any questions about scoring on the nonsense word fluency? All right, y'all are quiet. I know it's Thursday. Tomorrow, y'all are going to probably be worse. Y'all are going to be exhausted tomorrow. That's it for today.